Today on my channel, Planner Friends, we are going to decorate in my Creative Faith Journal, and I'm going to discuss why we need to have faith goals. Yes, you have goals in every area of your life, but do you have faith goals? And in all transparency, I'm coming at this from the back end in that I don't know that I had fully fleshed out faith goals, but I've learned, and I want to share that with you today. So please, friends, stay tuned. Hello, planner friends, and welcome to my channel. I'm One Crafty Dolo, and I'm happy you're here with me today. If you're new, you're welcome to join my growing community. I work to create a positive space here on YouTube. If you're returning, thank you so much for the gift of your time, your likes, your comments. I do appreciate you. So as I said in the intro, we're going to talk about faith goals today, and I'm going to decorate. This is a classic vertical happy planner, and I picked it up not knowing what I was going to do with it. And so I turned it into a wonderful creative faith space, which I can flip through that when we're done here. But I want to talk to you about something important, and that would be faith goals, having goals in faith. On Sundays, on my channel, it's always about Jesus, faith studies, creativity in faith, prayer journaling, and as always, I have a good mug of hot tea with me. Alrighty, so let's talk. Honestly, I'm late to the party on this one, and I'm teaching you about this coming from behind. And that what I mean by that is I didn't have the idea of faith goals until fairly recently into this year. As this year has progressed, I had some at the beginning, but now I feel like I better understand what I mean when I say faith goals. And I thought by sharing a little bit of my ideas and my story here, I might inspire you in terms of your own faith goals and reaching them. So the first point I'd like to make, the first point I'm making, is we have goals in every area of our life pretty much. You might have family goals, career goals, financial goals, life goals, travel goals, right? Charity goals. You may have educational goals. So how much of your life is spent on creating goals, right? Well, then why don't we ever think of having a faith goals? Because the truth of the matter is, and I've come to realize this again, I'm late to this party. If you don't have faith goals, then how are you going to reach the rest of your goals? Because it begins and ends. If you're a person of faith, this is where it begins, it should begin, and it should end. And I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, I'm saying that with a little sarcasm, but going to church on Sunday shouldn't be the beginning and ending of your faith goals. If you're stumbling upon this video, then clearly you're interested in the topic of faith. Now, I'm not a theologian, I'm not a pastor, I'm just a person scrubbing along here. But I do want to share these things with you to kind of benefit from my own experience and things where I made missteps as well. So how do you reach your goals in the rest of your life without your faith goals? I think you can. I mean, it's hard for me to say because I've always been a person of faith, but that faith has surely deepened. So I can say I reached my goals, but I think I've learned, I've seen that if you reach your goals and have goals in faith that you're achieving first and foremost, it really brings a sense of peace, enabling you to achieve other things. This is really important to understand because you're not equipping yourself to get to where you want to be in the other arenas of your life until you sit down and understand your faith and how you want to grow in it. Right? Don't you feel like that's a mic drop moment? I kind of do. So the other point I wanted to say, point number 2, is growing your faith is an active process. Think about that, right? Your faith isn't just, like I said, it's not a Sunday, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours and done. Growing your faith should be an active process. So if that's an active process, just like achieving your educational goals, achieving your financial goals, you don't get to where you need to be by being passive. Well, if you want to achieve, as I was saying, a goal that's, your education. So you go to school, you plan, you study, you take exams, you write papers, or you create designs, whatever it is you're doing, but you're doing it in a very active way. Well, it's the same with your faith. If you're not actively pursuing your faith, well, then it's not going to go anywhere, right? And then the third point is about broader goals versus specific. And that is a period where I am growing, okay? I am growing and learning more specific goals just from my broader goals. But I don't know that I would have come up with these ideas had I not started the process this year. And so that's just something I wanted to share with you, because I do feel it's important to grow this way, to understand it, to level up, as they say, right? And so let me explain how I came to realize it and what it's done for me. And I do suffer, okay, 2 things. I have a chronic illness. It's scleroderma. It is an autoimmune disease. I've had it for a long time, so I've been living with it. It is what it is. It's one of those things. Like, it is what it is. I don't know what else to say. It just is who I am, right? And part of my life. Partially because of that, and partially because of life, I also deal with a lot of anxiety. I'm managing it, and certainly my faith goals have helped me with that. But that's also an active process and not always an easy process. So that's where I came from in this. And to be honest with you, so much of it started with creative faith and prayer journaling, right? This past 2023, I felt my prayer life was stagnant. And I'll do another video because I'm going to have to set up my prayer journal for October, November, December. It's a 3-month booklet. So I realized in 2023 my prayer life was stagnant and I wasn't sure what to do about it. And then I was like, wait a minute. What I can do is I can create a prayer journal. That was my goal, to grow my prayer life. So I had a very active, specific goal. And as I've gone through the year in that, I've learned that space, that quiet time in that journal is something I've come to really rely on and to totally need. And I don't know if I understood that back when I started it. That not only is the prayer essential for me, but the sitting down, the being still, the praying it up to the Lord I've deepened my prayer life, but I've also deepened so much of my life. I don't know if I'm saying this the right way, but I'm being honest with you. I've been in faith studies now. I'm in my 3rd year. And I've learned through the process that the creativity of all of this helps me grow in faith. I think it could help you. I believe it can. If you're here, you're interested in these things. So the question is, how will it help you? And so, yeah, that's just something I think is important to note and to share and to grow in, because I feel like so much of our life we're running around, we're trying to do X, Y, and Z, and we don't get there. We do get there, and then what? And so it's important. I feel like I'm kind of on a mission here. I'm sorry, I have visual challenges, and sometimes that's because of the scleroderma. I don't always get everything right. There we go. That's better. Anyway, so I have come through the processes of understanding my faith and my studies. One thing has really stood out to me, and that is the world versus God. And so much of our lives is spent in the world, but that's also in contradiction in many ways to God's plans for us. And why? Why is that? Well, the world does that to keep you in its own way of life and turns us away from our faith. It tries to anyway. The strong of us, don't, but it's a battle. Don't misinterpret this. This is a battle. Don't mistake it. Oh, well, things happen. No, the world is out to take you away from your faith because it is in opposition to God. Excuse me. And so I have come to realize how much of my anxiety was made by my fellow human beings and their behaviors, and quite frankly, their nonsense. And once you see that in your life, that's pretty powerful. I got to be honest with you. It's really powerful. And I am healing. It's, again, just like faith, managing your anxiety, whether it's through faith and other means, is an active process. And trust me, I'm active in the process. But it takes a lot of work. And so, yeah, this is where we are now. And I'm better equipped than I ever have been in my life. Now, I've achieved goals, but I'm better equipped to get to my goals now and be happier about it. My goals have included, I've raised a very fine young man. I have a son. I have a doctorate in history. That was probably one of the most difficult things I've done. I feel like I paid a lot of prices for it, but I did it. And I'm grateful I did it. Don't misinterpret me. Do I want to put more on here? Yeah, I do. But it was hard. It wasn't easy. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. I feel like Forrest Gump. That's all I have to say about that. But I was in faith in those times, but I was also busy running around, and I didn't give my faith life. I was the weekly churchgoer, the prayer. I did read my Bible. I do read my Bible, but now I feel more than ever I better understand my Bible, if that makes sense. I'm not getting political, so we don't do that here. But there's this saying, at least in the States, every vote matters. That's true. I believe this. But guess what? When it comes to faith, every person matters too. Because the more of us that there are living and trying to go forward in faith, the less the world wins. And that's important to God. It's important to Jesus. It's important to our fellow man. If we want to be an example, and we're humans, we're fallible, but if we want to be an example for others, maybe that's something we need to consider, right? And so, yeah, right? Your vote matters. Well, your faith matters too. In fact, even more so. So maybe it's time to get a move on and say, hey, I am going to integrate more faith in my life. And how am I going to do that? Well, not entirely sure, but you know what? I'm doing it. And you then become a light for other people. And I think that's an incredible, can I get this out? That's an incredible responsibility, but it's also incredibly uplifting for the person you doing the faith, living the faith, or doing your best to live faithfully, and the person receiving it. So you're getting blessings on both sides, if you will. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So I just wanted to share this idea of this, living in faith and faith goals. So how do you set faith goals? What is a faith goal How do you live a faith goal and so forth? Okay. Number one is start small. For me, I started my faith studies for a variety of reasons, particularly anxiety. We were away from home. It was hard. I wrote a whole article. I have a link in my link tree to my most recent article about why I started this channel. And I didn't know what that would entail, but it's become a huge blessing for me personally. And so, yeah, I think that you have to start small. Did I think I was creative before I started doing this? No, I honestly did not. Did I know I could do creative things with my faith? Not necessarily. It's just been I've been just kind of winging it. But now I want to say to you, do better than me. I've ended up in a good spot, but as usual, I take a circuitous route to get there. That seems to be the story of my life, right? So, yeah, I want you to sit down and come up, start small, but let's start thinking about how you want to grow your relationship with God, with Jesus, and what that is going to look like. What do you want to achieve in those relationships? So start with small goals, and then you'll grow your goals as you go along. Find a way of meeting God and meeting Jesus in faith that works for you. One of the things I want to mention here is something. I'm a former professor and an educator, and I don't know, I feel like education isn't what I do, it's who I am. Think about this. There's something called multiple intelligence theory. Everybody learns differently, and I put this to use in the classroom, in museums. I worked in a library. The idea that we all learn differently, and I really think that to be the case. Some people learn by reading, some people learn by listening, right? Auditory learners. Some people learn like this is tactile. So the question becomes, how are you going to incorporate your faith goals and your multiple, whatever intelligence that operates best for you? And I bring that up because I want you to stick with it, to really live out, to create your goals and live it. And one of the ways to do that is definitely to keep these things in mind. I also would suggest that creating faith spaces and time and so forth, once you get into the groove of that, it becomes, I hate this term, but I'm going to use it anyway, your quote, safe space, right? I think it's overused. That's why I dislike it. But the idea that you have a place to go to kick the world out and bring God in, yeah, that's the safest place really, right? So I would suggest thinking about what works for you. This process helps me. I call this a dual process. And what I mean by that is first I decorate, and then I work in my study, or I work in my prayer journal, whatever it is I'm working on. And the act of decorating, I feel, actually holds me a bit accountable, and I really enjoy that. So I just want to say to you, to meet you where you are, and to say that, you know, you're going to go through your trials, you're going to go through your tribulations, but God is with you, and He wants us to grow in Him. He wants us to be His children in faith. Well, you can't get there from here without actively seeking it, working on it, upping it, changing it when it needs to be changed, just like any other goal. Let me do a quick flip through here of September while I'm finishing this up. So I hope that after today, one of the goals for you, I hope you understand that you do need goals, and you need to set them now, and you need to get working on them. One of the things this space is doing for me is every week I take a different theme. I have a small happy planner, And I'm using the months, not as months, but thematically. I go through my studies. Sometimes I just pull out the Bible and go through that. But every week I cut in that little planner, and then I translate it into creativity in here. So the first week in September is God always provides. And I bring in scripture that says just that. Week 2 is about Jesus and how he healed, right? He healed lepers, he healed the blind, the man with the withered hand, but he heals us. And so through healing them, he heals us. And so this is the second week of this month. Then I went into Jesus gives us strength. And this was a really important, you know, this verse from Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ, through him who strengthens me. But I went a little deeper in, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. Incidentally, these and these are all from Dollar Tree. I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of money to do this. I'm telling you right now. You can. I've amassed my collection of things over the years, but I always do it on a budget. So it was, let's see, let me go back. God always provides. Jesus heals us. Jesus gives us strength. I think this week is going to be Jesus gives us hope. That's where I'm going to go with it this week. So I hope I help you in some way in your life today. I want you to know that I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for us. I'm rooting for our nations. But you know what? I also know we've got to walk forward in faith, and because man will continue to fail us, but certainly God nor Jesus do. If I can pray for you, let me know in the comments. It would be my honor and privilege to do so. I thank you again for being here. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. All of us faith and tea drinkers and coffee drinkers, let's just go forward and encourage each other. Thanks again for being here, friends. Bye now.